The author, Bart Bornberg, of the article called Renovation, Restoration, and Conservation, stated, "Preservation involves keeping an object from destruction and seeing that the object is not irredeemably altered or changed. In preservation, the final appearance of the artwork is not the top priority. Preservation is less invasive to minimize deterioration and prevent damage of the object in the future. Examples of preservation is housing the objects in environmental controlled room and monitoring the space where the artwork is placed to make sure there's not any pests that may damage the art piece. Art restoration focuses more on restoring the artwork back to its original appearance. It focuses more on aesthetic than its original form. Art restorers do not require special training or education. Instead, their training and education involves studying under another restorer. Many restorers are very skilled, talented artists that are able to improve the look of the art, but may lack the knowledge to make sure that the art piece isn't irreplaceably damaged. Restorers usually use materials that they are most comfortable with, instead of using materials that they can easily be removed or are best suited for the art piece. The author of the article called Top 3 Differences Between Art Conservation and Art Restoration states, because of the lack of certification required to become an art restorer, it is incredibly important to choose the right restorer by asking for their appearance, references, and a portfolio of the past works. I would use the preservation approach because there's less of a chance of creating permanent damage to an art piece than with restoration. There have been many artworks that have been completely ruined from people trying to restore their work.
One example of a restoration damaging an art piece is a painting of Christ at a cathedral in Borja, Spain. This painting was titled Ecce Homo, was originally painted around 1930 by Elisa Garcia Martinez. The painting had become damaged from being out in the elements over the years.
Because of the damage, an 80-year-old lady who did not have much experience in restoring paintings decided to repair the damage. Instead of repairing it, she just damaged it even more. The inexperienced restorer caused much damage to the painting. It turned it into a beautiful, realistic painting of Christ into a cartoonish painting of Christ. This is why I would use preservation instead of restoration, because of the chance of a severe damage to an artwork. And if this damage is so bad, it may not be fixable forever changing the art piece. The slightest damage could change the entire meaning of an art piece, and changing the author's intended purpose of an art piece. With preservation, there is no chance of severe damage to an art piece. It also keeps the original look. Not only does it keep the original look that the authors intended, but also keeps the historic look of the art piece.
Another example of a restoration gone wrong is a wooden sculpture of St. George in Spain, created in the 16th century. Over the years, the wood darkened and the paint began to flake off, so to fix this, a local art teacher was hired to restore it. Unfortunately, the restoration was not very good. The restorer covered the whole thing in cartoonish colors, making it look like it was from a cartoon and not from 100 years ago.
After the restoration, this art piece no longer had a historic meaning. If the art piece was preserved rather than restored, then the historic meaning will still be intact, because the minor damages caused by the environment would have stayed, showing that it is very old and has a lot of historic meaning. Art preservation should be used instead of art restoration because preservation ensures that the deeper meaning of the art piece stays intact and it prevents any further permanent damage to the art piece.